Subscribing to The Observer on YouTube couldn't be easier, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. First, navigate to www.youtube.com/TheObserverNJ. Once you get there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click the down arrow and then all. And that's it. You're subscribed, and now anytime The Observer is live, you will be notified. Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you live from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 25th day of March in the year 2025. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesday, no matter where it is you are in the country. And as he does each and every Tuesday, he joins me right at the top to talk about weather. And here he is right now from the Harrison Weather Center, the immortal Tony Mondero. Tony, good afternoon, brother.
Well, for the snow lovers, Kevin, and a good afternoon to you and the staff there at The Observer. Sorry, there's no snowstorm tonight or Wednesday, as some were prognosticating over the last couple of days. I kept looking up at our monitors here, and one TV station had snow for tonight and tomorrow. It's going to be rain, if anything, a couple of showers overnight tomorrow morning, and that's a very slight chance. It looks like more of a chance of snow or chance of precipitation would be further to our south.
Wow. I actually didn't hear that, but that would sound to me like another one of those panic things. Is that what it was? Like, here, let's get everybody all worked up for the snowstorm that's not coming, right? Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Well, so what are we looking at, though? Because I did see in one of the forecasts that's not yours, which I usually take with a grain of salt, that it might be pretty warm on Saturday. Is there any truth to that? So what's the rest of the week look like?
Yeah, the rest of the week, Kev, after we get by today, there's a slight chance of a shower tonight. We get into, Wednesday, partly sunny, mix of sun and clouds with highs in the 50s. Thursday and into Friday look like a pair of pretty good days. Later on Friday into the weekend, it becomes unsettled again. And it doesn't rain all the time. There's a chance of a shower or two with a mix of clouds and sunshine. The temperatures will be in the 50s to perhaps near 60. And it looks like that warm up that we're waiting for tries to start on Monday, but brings in a chance of rain showers as well, on Monday. So, normal early spring weather. Thankfully, we don't see anything like what Barbara reported up in the mountains, Barbara Condon. She had some snow flurries, I guess, over the last 24 hours. But she's way up there. I think, was she in Vermont, New Hampshire, or something
She's
like
in
that?
she's in I think it's the Adirondacks of New York, if I'm not mistaken. But still, I mean, it's always a lot. She had like snow, like 20 inches of snow in like October one year. So God knows. But generally speaking, though, Tony, aren't we talking like we're talking like it's just been a pretty mild winter, hasn't it? I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, snow-wise, again, Kev, our average snowfall for the season here at Harrison is 28 inches and only 14.8, and they came in little bite-sized pieces again. Thankfully, we didn't have any big storms. We had one scare, one scare to us. There was numerous scares on the news, and we don't subscribe to scaring people or hyping storms. The one though, when the computers were hot on one situation about a month and a half ago, they quickly got off of that within 48 hours. But it was enough for me to start making phone calls to our DPWs saying, "Hey, look, there was a possibility," and that went out to sea. So thankfully, we dodged a bullet with that storm. Those like points south, like D.C., Baltimore, even parts of southern New Jersey, south of the expressway of Atlantic City,
Right.
have been getting the snow the last couple of years.
Yeah, we I guess all things considered, we have been lucky all around. And if you're just joining us, Tony Mondero is here with us. He, of course, from the Harrison Weather Center. What else is going on, though? Is this just this time of year? I know you start to do some of your mowing and your planting. Are we still a little too early on that? Is the ground temperature still
Yeah,
too cold, Tone?
yeah. I checked our soil temperature this morning. We're at 51 degrees, so still, let's wait a little bit before we start going nuts with the putting plants outside there. Because just the other morning, Kev, on Monday morning, we were at 30 degrees with a pretty stiff wind. And I'll tell you, Jack Murphy, our climate guy, would probably know better than I, but it has really been a windy winter. Wouldn't you say,
Yeah,
Kev? It seems like every day gusts are over 20, 30, even 40 miles an hour. It's been crazy. And we're
yeah.
not usually that windy unless we're around storms. So it's, what are we, Chicago now?
The Windy City here. Well, tell me what is that? Is there a root cause to it, or is it just freaking nature?
What happens is, Kev, you have strong high pressure building with the parting areas of low pressure. The stronger the two systems are, the smaller the pressure gradient, and you have those strong winds. And we have had some strong systems this winter time, even though the majority have missed us to produce snow. Now we've had our rain. We're 4.44 inches of rain now for the month of March, which is a little bit above normal. It's nice, and that every little bit helps with any type of water shortage or drought that still remains in the state. We're not too bad here, but the DEP saying down there in Trenton that central and southern New Jersey, parts of it still have some issues with drought at this time. But I think as we get deeper into the springtime, I think we'll make that up and we'll be in pretty good shape.
If you're just joining us, Tony Mondero, the Harrison Weather Center, is here with us right now. I don't know if this happens to you, but it's happened to me a lot lately because it's been such a sort of dry winter. I get electrical shocks in the house quite a bit. And it's kind of I feel bad because I often wind up shocking my cat. And I have never seen it like this so bad. Do you know anything about how the static electricity has any connection to the humidity? If I'm putting you on the spot, forgive me, but I can't believe how bad it's been this winter.
The lower and the drier it is will cause static humidity to be just the static humidity to be the static to become higher. So if you have like say when they have possible forest fire or fire conditions, that's usually what humidity sub 30% causes that. So you're probably not getting that all the time, especially when it's raining. But on dry sunny days, it happens. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's just it's remarkable. But the worst it's been in a long time. So I
Right.
really wasn't sure what to take of it.
Yeah,
Tony,
and I feel bad for the cat too.
he's not doing anything, and I just go to
Yeah.
pet him, and it's like, but some of them are like violent. Like when I tell you that
Yeah.
some of these shocks have been like I can feel it, like it actually kind of
Right.
stings. I'm not kidding. So, but I just I know a lot of people have been going through it, so I thought I would ask you. I appreciate it very much.
Right. Yeah. It's no problem.
On our way out here today, what else should we expect? Anything else in the coming days, or we pretty much status quo otherwise?
Yeah, nothing earth shattering, Kev. But I'm telling you, we're getting quite a following. I have to say a happy birthday to Madeline out in New Providence, which watches us on a regular basis. Gabe Fury, the North Arlington retired North Arlington police officer, he watches us all the way from Manahawkin, New Jersey, where Mama June's from, in that area. So we have a following down the Jersey Shore.
He is a great guy, Gabe. He's a retired police officer too, if I'm not mistaken, right? Wasn't he a North Arlington cop for a while?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I work with Gabe, and then I see Carol Manley's in there. I work with her dad, Ed Hearn. for years at the North Arlington Police Department. What a really nice guy. We had a that was really a good time in my career way back then. All the old timers.
Ed was a true gem, and Ed's son and Carol's brother, John, also, who was chief of the North Arlington Police Department not so long ago, another great guy too. So you work with some of the best, Tony. You really did.
Absolutely, I was honored to work with some of the best in North Arlington Public Safety. Not only the PD, but the fire department, Naves Volunteer Emergency Squad, and DPW, and even our neighbors. Lyndhurst, Kearney, Belleville, Nutley, our viewing area, the town of Harrison. Hey, if it wasn't for the town of Harrison and its school system, there's no Harrison Weather Center. I'm sorry, it's just simply that put. It's I'm glad for everybody's support, and even our GoFundMe, Kevin. Thanks to you, we've been doing okay with the GoFundMe page when we ask for donations, and
Are,
that's really appreciated too.
does that stay open all the time, or do you shut it down from time to time? Tell us a
No, it's
little bit
open.
about.
It's open all the time, but in various parts of the year, like maybe now I do it around an area of a storm if somebody's generous, especially in the wintertime or even in the springtime. If they can donate, even a couple of dollars helps out. As we have rising costs, and now we don't know what's going to happen to the National Weather Service and all their products and services. Thankfully, like I said, we have commercial services that we subscribe to. We would get our information from. And I wouldn't be without any further ado, too, to wish our Mets and Lisa's Yankees the best of luck. As opening day is on Thursday.
Before we get to the Mets and the Yankees, tell everybody where they can get the GoFundMe, so that if anybody's watching and wants to donate.
Yeah, on our Facebook page, you should find it there. That's
You
where
have the
where
links
the
in there? Okay.
yeah.
All right.
They scroll down a little bit, you'll find it. Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
now getting back to baseball, the Mets and Yankees played to a 6-6 tie in Port St. Lucie yesterday. I had heard that it was the sixth tie that the Mets played in the spring, and I guess that's what they do now. Rather than playing extra innings, they just put their hands up. You see the manager, whoever the home manager is, and they decide if they're going to go maybe one extra inning, but they don't play beyond that. But I tell you what, after a month and 2 weeks of spring training baseball, I am ready for this season to begin, Tony. I hate how long spring seems to be now. Is it me, or does, with it starting in February, does it seem like spring training is eternal now, or what?
Well, I watched the last Met home game of the season just to hear Gary Cohen, the great Met announcer, to say when the first winter, spring training game's going to be. It's usually late February. To me, that's how I know that the winter's waning and meteorological spring starts on March 1st, and our Mets and the Yankees start. And I'm looking, it's too bad that both teams can't be fully healthy. With our problems that we have with our pitchers, and also McNeil being down, and also the big blow to the Yankees pitching staff with Cole being out. It's let's see what's going to happen. But we had that big addition with Juan Soto, but I don't think Soto wins as a championship. You have to have cohesion, with this team, the pitching and the defense and the offense, as Gary Cohen would say, as you would say, both sides of the ball play well.
Yeah, I'm not so sure how I feel about this season either. Like everybody's sort of optimistic, but there have been so many of those injuries, even to the pitching staff. Sean
Right.
Manaea's out. That guy that they got, Montas has been, he's going to be out for the whole year, I think, right? Or no, at least 2 months. I don't understand how these guys get injured so quick when they start the season. I often wonder, like, what the hell do the trainers do? And why are they always getting hurt so fast? Giancarlo Stanton is just a walking injury. I mean, he's never healthy. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not as optimistic maybe as some other people are, but let's see. I don't want to go in negatively, but I don't know. We'll see what happens coming up on Thursday, I guess, opening day, right?
Yeah, open day on Thursday, and the Mets are in Houston. I'm not really too sure where the Yankees are, but
They're
Buck
home.
Showalter, the Buck Showalter, the famous manager and manager of the Baltimore Orioles, once said that the players are the healthiest when they step out of their cars the first day of spring training practice. That's it. Then it all goes down from there.
It
Downhill from
really
there. think
It
we're starting
really
to
is
have.
remarkable how true that is. My God, they really and I mean, some people, some athletes are just cursed. It is really unbelievable to see how quickly some of these guys get hurt in the beginning of the season, how often they are. Stanton is the prime example. I don't know if this guy ever plays. It just seems like he never does. And the Devils have this problem too. The Devils are absolutely abhorrent this year. They're in a playoff position. I told you this a couple of weeks ago. It doesn't look to me like they should be, but they are. And Jack Hughes, who was the number one pick a couple of years ago, is just never, ever not injured. 20 games, 40 games, 20 games, half a season. I'm getting tired of it. You know, these guys, I don't know if why it feels like it's always my team, but I guess it's not. But these guys are injured so much, it's not even funny, and they'll never play full seasons.
Yeah, look at the New York Red Bulls. We'll switch over to soccer for a second. Another win in down to beautiful downtown Harrison at their arena on Saturday afternoon. So they're doing well after many losing seasons. Last year, though, they won the division. Who would ever
Yeah.
think of that? And even not for nothing, Kev, but look at with the Mets last year. We weren't expecting them to make the
No, you're
postseason.
right.
Oh, it was good. It was nice. We had a nice winter off. We got Soto, Pete signed back on. I really wanted to see what those two can do together. And who knows what the dynamics is around Alonso. I mean, if you wanted to throw him the money at the time, he said no. Does it come down to greed? Where does it stop? Like Soto, he's never gonna be able to spend all that money. It's
No.
crazy.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
yeah, you're speaking of last season. I just want to put this up. I don't know if you could see it on the screen, but that's my buddy Bill Scarterfield, and that's his
yeah.
personalized Philadelphia Phillies jersey that he's got right there. And I don't want to bring it up, but if you recall, last year
Yeah.
postseason, that was one of, to me, the greatest series, at least in 25 years for the Mets. Right? That was an incredible series. That grand slam from Lindor. Remember that?
And I don't know if you were listening to Philly radio and Philly sports talk, but that team got just absolutely hammered after that season. They were ready to fire everybody.
Yeah. The sports radio in Philadelphia is as brutal as anywhere in the country. In fact, I would even say even worse than New York. And boy, they really did get hammered from WIP and all those guys down there. And I would not have wanted to be a player or a manager at that point in time because it was merciless. It really was. But
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. New season upon us on Thursday. We already had two games in Japan, so we're looking at the game three to start off the season for some teams. But we'll do that. That happens on Thursday, and hopefully we'll have a good year. Tony, thank you for this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you,
Yep.
Kev. Yeah,
Yep, and we will do it again next week, or if not sooner, if anything happens to break during the course of time. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it as always.
absolutely. Remember, everybody, like Kevin says, like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe
Well,
us.
well,
All the viewers we can get will be great. And Kevin, you and the staff have a great news program today.
Tony, thank you. But what would I do without you? Because I never remember to say this. Lisa
Well,
always screams over from the other side of the office, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. I always forget. So I can't thank you enough, brother.
have a great day, Kev. Have a
All right,
great day,
buddy.
everybody.
Okay, enjoy. And thank you, Tony. There he is, the one and only, the immortal Tony Mondero. He of the Harrison Weather Center. And I don't know about the Mets. I really don't. I don't know what to think of them anymore. But I know for sure the Devils, I am not very, very happy about at all. Now, we have a lot to get to today, other than the weather. But I want to start off with something that a couple of stories that we have that are a little bit bigger than the other. I think some of you have seen this from last week. This bus was making a right-hand turn from Ridge Road onto the Belleville Turnpike in North Arlington, and the driver made the tight turn, wound up hitting the pole, knocking it over onto the bus and onto that vehicle right there. It looks like I guess it's a Nissan. I can't tell for sure. But I had a chance to speak to Lieutenant Rui Encarnação, who is the new public information officer for the North Arlington Police Department, and he told me that the bus driver had a suspended driver's license. So he was cited for that, and he's apparently not so good at what he does. That could have been a lot worse than it was really last week. But I want to thank Lieutenant Cornissal for letting us know the details of this because it caused a lot of disruption over in that area on Ridge Road and Kearney Avenue and the Pike for a couple of hours last week. But that was absolutely nuts what happened there. But again, the driver was suspended. So that's, of course, uh, not surprising, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Now, this was something that we got word about, but there's been very little discussion about it. But an inmate was found dead over the weekend at the Hudson County Jail in South Kearney. Prosecutor Esther Suarez is investigating this. Of course, anytime an inmate dies while on the premises, there is an investigation. I believe the Attorney General's office will get involved as well, but an inmate did die in the jail in South Kearney, and I understand he was a Jersey City resident when he was locked up for whatever the reason was. I'm not exactly sure what his crime was at the time, but I'm sure there will be a thorough investigation about this in the coming weeks and months. And if we find out anything more, it's always a tragedy when anybody dies. But when they're in custody, it's even more kind of like perplexing. Like, how does it happen? But apparently, they did render first aid to the subject who expired and went to the Jersey City Medical Center where he was pronounced dead. But this was over the weekend. Now, I want to tell you something about this story that Larry Hanlon brought to me. It was 114 years ago today. Now, I'm going to put on this video in the background. So just give me 1 second as this happened on March 25th, 1911, and it is known as the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. And the anniversary, of course, is today. And if you're watching the video and not just listening, you will see that this is what the building looks like today. It's the New York University, NYU. And some of these photos that were taken back in 1911 are absolutely horrifying. This one, perhaps the most, all of those people that you see right there jumped from the building on March 25th 1911. And I think I heard something about 40 some odd people jumped from the building because of the conditions. It was easier for them to jump than stay there and burn alive. But what was perhaps most stunning about this fire that happened 114 years ago today is that when people tried to get out of the building, it was the top 3 floors of the building, they couldn't because back in 1911, believe this or not, I find it so unfathomable in today's world, but the doors were locked because the employers didn't want the employees to walk out and spend too much time on unauthorized breaks. And so, because that was pretty much allowed back then, which is just mind boggling today, 146 people, many of whom were immigrants from Italy and some were Jewish, lost their lives that day. And the reason I bring this up was because about a month or so ago, I showed you all a video of the fire at the Station nightclub in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and I had a discussion with Larry Hanlon about it on social media. And this morning, he sent me news that today was the anniversary of the fire. This one here, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory in the Village in New York City. And from it, a lot of changes were made to the fire safety industry, which is just kind of remarkable. But I was doing some further research to read about the guys that owned this building. And do you know that 2 years later, they moved to another building and were cited for locking the doors again? They were cited for locking the doors from the inside once again, even though at that point in time it was completely illegal now to lock the doors on people from the inside. So many people would have survived this fire if they had been able to get out. But as Larry explained to me, and as I went on to read, a lot of changes came after this fire, including the Garment Workers Union, because many of the people who worked in this building during the fire and who lost their lives were not unionized because they were recent immigrants. Many did not speak English, and the owners were aware that by hiring them, they wouldn't talk back and they could pay them a lot less than they would somebody who was in a union. So that's what happened. And that's why 146 people died in this horrible, horrible fire back in 1911. 146 people. You see that right there? What you just saw, let me just wind this back for a second right here. What you're looking at right there are dead bodies. Those are people who jumped from the building in order to escape. And you see that some of them are mangled messes. It is just horrifying. And I really do want to thank Larry Hanlon for bringing this up. Larry's been a fire inspector for many, many years, and he has done a tremendous job of doing it the right way. But what happened that day, 114 years ago today, should have never happened again, but it did in many other places. There were so many, including the one in Rhode Island that I told you all about. So thank you, Larry, for bringing this to our attention. I appreciate it very, very much. And I appreciate all of you indulging with me as I explained it. Now, a couple of things I just want to go over here. What you see here is from the St. Patrick's Day Parade. This was the Kearney Fire contingents in the West Hudson St. Patrick's Day Parade. I see 7 people in this picture. And I think most of you probably know that there's a situation that's going on with Juan Barroso still March 25th, 2025. That situation is somehow still not resolved. But if there's any indication as to why there were only 7 people from the Kearney Fire Department marching in the parade, I would say it has something to do perhaps with Juan's case. 7 people marching in a department of the size that it is pretty remarkable. And, that led me to this, where I was able to get this information. I have mentioned to you many, many times that I believe that one of the reasons why this case is still ongoing is because the labor attorneys don't want it to end. Because if the case were to end and be solved, then they wouldn't have anything to bill for. And so here are the fees that the labor attorney was paid in the last 5 years. In the year 2020, $98,652. In the year 2021, let me switch this off to the next page. In the year 2021, $129,345. In the year 2022, $266,012. In the year 2023, $152,787. And just last year, while all of this was going on with Juan, and granted, there are other things that are happening as well, $171,366. I would gladly exchange my annual salary for any of these years. 98, 129, 266, 152, and 171. So I have said it before, and I'm going to say it one last time. There is very little incentive for this case to be resolved, I would say, based on these numbers, which are just absolutely obscene, that an attorney can bill this much, and the town has no other choice but to pay it. I would probably look elsewhere for a different attorney if I were having to pay those kind of fees for labor-related reasons. Now, one last thing I want to talk to you about this week, and this is the front page story of this week's newspaper, and this is about Steve Rogers. Steve, as many of you may remember, was the public information officer for the Nutley Police Department for many, many years. He went on to join the Nutley Board of Education for one term, and then he spent 2 terms as a commissioner in the township of Nutley. He self imposed term limits and did not run after his second term. He did run for governor, albeit unsuccessfully, a couple of years back, and he did have a good showing, though. He really did. And now, in his utter retirement, Steve is the executive director of something called the Association of the United States Navy. It is something that he has put together that is designed to help those who are in the Navy and the Marines and families of and supporters of. I hope you'll take a chance and read this week from the front page because it's really extraordinary what Steve Rogers has done and continues to do over his storied career, whether it's in the military, for Nutley as a police officer. You know, Steve has been a source for me so many times when it comes to criminal justice related matters that I feel like I've taken advantage of his knowledge and his expertise. And most of you will also know that Steve is often on regular television with appearances on CNN, Fox News, Newsmax, MSNBC, you name it. Steve has been on it. But what he's doing with the AUSN right now is nothing short of extraordinary. So I hope you'll take a chance and check this out in this week's edition of The Observer. And briefly, 2 more things. Tom Fraser, who most of you know, everybody knows Tom if you live in Kearney, is having a book sale. And one of the interesting things about this book sale that is Saturday, April 5th, is that every book for sale is a bestseller, and every single one of the books Tom has read. So do go out and support him. Kearney's largest book sale ever that Tom is going to do, and that is, of course, on the 5th of April. And don't forget, this also is coming up to the Author's Tea. The Author's Luncheon is set for April 6th at 2 p.m. at the Henrietta Benstead Center. I plan on going, and I'm looking forward to hearing everything that the Women's Club of Arlington has to offer for the annual tea. It's, I think, the 11th year that they've done this. Don't quote me on that for sure, but they have done this for many, many years, and it's always a phenomenal event. Now, I did not get a chance to say hello to everybody yet, so I am going to do that right now. I have to wind back and say hello to Barbara Condon, who's been here since the beginning, Alana McDonald, who is joining us today, Lori Bradow is here, Jesus Uribe, Mayor Dan Pronti, Carmen de Jesus, my dear friend, is watching us. My birthday sister, Carol Manley, is with us. Manny Ventoso was here. And, of course, Bill Scarterfield out in Arizona, where he's enjoying the warm weather. Debbie Garcia is here with us. Kenny Evans is also here. And to anybody who may be hiding out in the background, thank you for joining us today. I know you could be just about anywhere. So I truly appreciate you joining us today. We will be back if we need to on Friday, if not 1 week from today. And we hope you all enjoy the rest of your Tuesdays. So that's it from the newsroom of the Observer and theobserver.com. Kevin Canessa signing off for now. And we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Billy says it was 93 yesterday. Billy. Enjoy it. All right, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.